Welcome, everyone. We're so excited to welcome you here to the Nightwatch Master Integrator series, a webinar experience designed to level up your security knowledge and integration skills. So my name is Paige Niven. I am the marketing manager here at Nightwatch and your Nightwatch host for the day. So you may be wondering, why are we doing this? In today's fast evolving world, staying ahead in security requires expert insights, practical strategies, and real world solutions. This series is designed to bring you helpful information, best practices, innovations, and actionable tips to enhance your organization's security. So let's get ready to learn, engage, and take your expertise to the next level. Today, we'll hear from Schneider Electric, where they'll be giving a high-level overview and a brief demo of their Access Expert solution. And so with that, I'd love to introduce our presenting partners. From Schneider Electric, please join me in welcoming Stephen Turney, Security Program Manager, Jack Page, Market Sales Manager, and Kyle Cuson, Regional Security Sales Engineer. Take it away, guys.
Cool. Thanks, Paige. Appreciate the invite and the opportunity here. Everyone, thanks for joining us today. Hopefully you get something out of this conversation. We got a great story to tell and how we've positioned ourselves in the product and the market and stuff. So definitely we're going to go over a couple of slides. You can obviously see that from the intro here, but then as Paige indicated, we are going to dive into a live demo. Without further ado, we shall get started. So one of the things that are a front of mind with all the customers that we meet with, and this is not just end user type customers, but also consulting engineers as well, is these are the pain points that we started to hear a lot on the left-hand side of the page. And then on the right-hand side is how we seek to and push to address and to mitigate those for the customers. Obviously, cybersecurity is top of mind for everybody. It's a critical item. And from our perspective, especially in the Access Expert product, we do extensive testing. Quite literally, there's code scans being done on a daily basis in various aspects. We also have this done internally and externally. And then we also always constantly roll out updates, not just monthly, but there's intermittent patches and updates and changes that are done as threats are identified and we have mitigation measures. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff happens in the background. So you, as the end user or as the consultant specifying the project or the integrator putting the job in, you don't have to worry about it. We take care of that 100% hands off for y'all. The other thing is, again, not going to reach each of the bullet points completely all the way through, but reduce support staff. That's been a reoccurring theme for the last several years. And one of the cool things in the Access Expert world is since we're cloud-based, accessibility is very simple from anywhere. Mobile app, web, or Windows client, which we'll talk more about here in a moment. But that remote connectivity is key. We've met with several customers before that had to do a VPN tunnel, if you will, into their network to get their access control system. Here, that's not the case. I've quite frequently actually run reports of the system from flying across the country, either on American Airlines or on Southwest Wi-Fi, so in-flight Wi-Fi. So very easy from a connectivity perspective, but again, we still do it in a secure manner. So. And then obviously evolving environments. People change, people move, especially if you look at schools, education sector, or commercial office. And how we, again, address that mobility enablement with mobile apps and web connectivity just makes their lives so much easier than when you're talking about a traditional system or a traditional application. Some of the core things that we like to highlight here with the product is secure. TLS is automatically enabled. Dual authentication, two-factor is a feature that's actually included in the software, not a separate module. Veracode tested and validated as well. Those, again, external scans that happen with the system for us. Standardized video integrations, we make sure that they all look the same, operate the same. Key differences you're going to see from is on the milestone side. We'll talk about that in a moment as well. And then you as integrators support and remote support, right, is how you get into your systems to do support for your customers. We make it really simple. So therefore, you don't have to worry about complex passwording and VPN connections and remote desktop type sessions. Customized reporting has been very popular with the application. And again, we also like to stress the fact that not only are we an open platform based upon Mercury, but we're a true cloud platform. And so what do I mean by true cloud platform? We're not web-based, although we have a web application. We run natively completely within an AWS environment, including failover redundancy services, right? So we are what we define as a true cloud platform. We're not doing colo, which again is a very big differentiator in the marketplace. Anytime anybody can go do a Qualys Lab scan, you'll see the rating that we get. We get the highest rating that they offer. Third-party entity. Veracode is the other third-party entity that we engage with. Same thing, get a great score there, highest score we can. No time is any of the communications restricted through a single bottleneck throat point type gateway type device. Every IP controller makes its path out to the cloud directly. So therefore, we are able to openly and freely say we get the 5 nines of redundancy. Automatic failover comes with the system. We do a 4-hour partial backup and a 24-hour full system backup for every single customer for every single system. So quite literally, point in time of failure is down to a 4-hour window of time. Noted earlier the scans, we do a weekly code scan of everything. I mentioned a minute ago daily. We do daily random scans as well. And then automatic software updates. This is one of the cool things. You log in the system and you'll see a little blue button that pops up on the screen. It says, hey, there's an update available. You're ready to deploy it? You click yes, and you're done. We take care of the heavy lifting in the background for you automatically.
So here on this slide, we're showing the Access Expert tech stack as we refer to it at Schneider Electric. So starting at the bottom of the stack, our connected products. That's the hardware that physically gets installed in the building. So it includes IP security controllers, our card readers, IP intercom, visitor station cameras, and so on. All the connected products, they communicate up to the edge control, which is really the heart of the Access Expert control system. At the edge control layer, we're receiving the information from the physical components in the connected products layer. And at the edge control layer is where the integrations to other building systems take place, along with most of the Access Expert setup and configuration. And lastly, we have the apps and analytics and services layer. And this is where we have our different advisor suites, which really helps effectively manage other Schneider Electric and third-party connected devices. So Access Expert, it offers a simplified operation with security integration and delivering security and operations visibility and control across the entire enterprise. So all the actionable data is shared. Control is bi-directional, along with acknowledgement is bi-directional. We're focused on the day-to-day operation, lockdown procedures, door changes, open, close, lock, and access from the pin pad as well. And we'll also support intrusion detection integration.
So this has to be my favorite slide because it depicts everything that Access Expert can do when it comes to either integrations or add-on modules within the hosted platform. If you start on the lower right, you'll see really from a key fob to a PVC card to mobile credential, all the different various ways that you can access the building. With that being said, we do have the built-in integrations with the intercom systems, as well as the visitor management system. So you'll see names that we integrate with, whether it be Zenitel, Splan, or otherwise, from a true integration standpoint. With that being said, we move over to the elevator interface on the lower left. So we do integrate with Kone, Otis, Schindler, as well as Thiess and Krupp, to name a few, but true integration. So we can do either input-output integration, or we can do the destination dispatch. So a person can only get to a specific floor. With that being said, we also integrate with biometrics. So from the standpoint of facial recognition, the SAFER reader, we do offer the SAFER reader through Schneider Electric, as well as the Invixium reader, so fingerprint reader. If you go back down to the lower right, you'll see that we have 13 VMS integration options. We list Milestone, Hanwha, Avigilon, but there are others involved with that. And then from an intrusion standpoint, we do not have built-in intrusion in Access Expert, but we do have bidirectional integration with the Bosch intrusion panel. So if you need the intrusion, setting pins or setting up users for the Bosch intrusion as well as Access Expert. It is a bidirectional integration. And then from the standpoint of some of our previous systems, we do offer an AX SSC controller that'll communicate with some of the Continuum hardware out there. On top, you'll see, or the upper right-hand corner, the Active Directory integration, as well as the integration that Jack just spoke about with EBO, or EcoStruxure Building Operation. Next slide, Stephen. So what makes Access Expert a smart choice? Well, Stephen kind of hinted on it a little bit from the standpoint of this is hosted in the cloud. So it really takes away the local server. So in previous years, you would always have the argument between either facilities and security and the IT department, and really getting those resources to update those servers, update the Windows, update the SQL on that actual server. All of that is removed. All of the complexities is removed when it's hosted in the cloud, because all of that is done for you. The next one is that it really is on non-proprietary hardware from a Mercury hardware standpoint. As well as with that AX SSC that I mentioned, we can support some of the legacy Continuum hardware. So really this gives you the freedom, one from an IT standpoint, but also from a hardware standpoint, to keep that system moving for years to come. And then all of the integrations that I mentioned on the previous slide, really that list is expanding and ever expanding with who we integrate, but you have to look at the building as not just a badge and a card reader on the wall, but what else can we tie into that access control system? So really it's robust, even from the standpoint of the EcoStruxure Building Operation.
So we've kind of harped on this a little bit, but just wanted to kind of stress it. Cybersecurity is obviously an important item and top of mind. You see articles and stuff in the news all the time. So a couple of things that we do. Number one, TLS is automatically enabled. Certificates are already there. So there's nothing for the integrator or the customer to have to renew or maintain or sustain. Dual authentication, again, is an included feature. The only thing that's not included is a single sign-on. That one is an option. But QR or text code-based dual authentication is actually included in the basic system, the base licensing. So, and then also as we stand up a system or a system comes up, there is no such thing as a default username and password. Everyone is unique from inception, and then of course that local customer or integrator can change it whenever they want. But at least we have no defaults in the system from a passwords perspective. I mean, the joke that I always use is just go out there when you get bored, Google default password for SQL, and you'll find out there is in fact a default. Everyone probably knows that, but you'd be shocked at how many times people actually leave the default password for SQL in their system and never actually change it. And it's a risk. It's a concern. Yeah. So we don't do that. We don't do that at all. Kyle mentioned architecturally, so we're a Mercury house, so open platform. Here we're showing just the legacy EP boards, so those nice pretty green ones. We also support the red as well as the new MP, the black ones. We do highly focus on this IP level integration. So when we're talking to intercom systems or we're talking to intrusion systems, we're going for that IP level connectivity. A couple of integrations that we do like to highlight. Kyle mentioned the Safer Reader. Look, the affection statement that I make is, if you haven't seen what the Safer Reader is, please Google it. The thing is slicker than snot. Sorry for the sarcasm there, but it's true. It is a very unique and innovative and very flexible facial recognition reader. Also, we just announced at the ISC West show 2 weeks ago, the bidirectional integration with Milestone. So now not only can you pull the cameras into the access control system, that's fine, dandy, and simple. You can also take now your doors and your points and your people and your events and pull them into the Milestone front end. Right. So again, really flexible in how we work for customers. If they're a heavy video focused individual or organization, that's fine. Keep running it in that Milestone environment and just suck your doors into the floor plans and control them that way. And then the last one that we'd touch on here is the Hanwha WiseNet integration. Really nice integration. We had it previously rolled out before the show, but we highlighted it at the show 2 weeks ago. Since we're doing this in a Teams call, it is kind of hard to show the mobile app, but we do have one for iOS as well as Android devices. Freely, you can go download it at any time. There is no charge for it. for either version, iOS or Android. And one of the cool things we like to highlight here is you can actually do the lockdown functions. You can see the bottom right picture there. But the other thing we can do is you can use this on mobile badge and station. You know, gone are the days of having to have a dedicated webcam or Twain driver type camera at a workstation that the employees go to get their badges taken. You got that remote employee in Portland, Oregon, have the security or HR individual just download the app, take their picture from the mobile app. It'll upload in the system, immediately available. Then you can go and print it out and get them their card. So again, really a cool function and feature there, but also the ability to manipulate what doors that persons can and can't go through is real simple and also very intuitive. We do have a built-in visitor management portal here as well. This is an optional item. Has 3 modes. You can see them there with the bullet points. The key thing that we always like to stress here is number 1, the welcome screen you can see on the left. That is tailored to the customer. We're showing our logo here for the product, but that end user can actually flash it to have their logo there. So that walk-up curb appeal, if you will, for that visitor or that contractor, that new employee, they're seeing that logo for that customer. And then the other thing is our focus of the visitor management. We wanted to make it as simple and as possible to use. And also we're just trying to focus at digitizing that ledger book that you might see in most reception lobbies where they're signing in with who am I here to see, time and date, how long am I here, and where's my meeting at. So we're just digitizing that and also giving you those audit logs for future use as needed. So Kyle, Jack, and I kind of bantered this one around a couple of days, and we came up with a couple of workflow scenarios that really highlight some of the ease of use and things like that. So remote access. Look, you get a phone call as the facilities or security manager saying, hey, Bill's locked out of the building, left his card at home, needs to get in, but you also need to make sure that you check him in as Bill. So Bill picks up the phone, calls the facility manager through the mobile app, the web app, or whatever. Facility manager says, yep, Bill's a valid person, still a good employee in the system, hasn't been removed by HR. Bill's card number is 6512, whatever it might be. So through the mobile app, the facilities manager, security manager to sit there and go, remote release the door, card number 6512, send. It'll actually open the door remotely, obviously, but check Bill in. So therefore, you've got an audit record that Bill came in the building, even though Bill didn't happen to have his card with it. High security areas integration with biometrics and intercoms, right? So we got Susie, she needs to get into the lab, but we also need to have a little stronger level of authentication. So we're going to enable either a keypad or even a biometric reader, or you could do all 3, by the way. So as Susie walks up to the door, biometric reader scans her face, types in her code to secondary authentication. Access Expert then verifies not only the PIN or the card that she's carrying, but verifies the facial characteristics. Boom, opens the door, lets Susie in. The one thing that Jack actually wanted to make sure we highlight on this one too is if you've got that workflow where you're just wanting pure facial, we can do that as well. So it's not face plus card or plus a PIN. You can actually do facial by itself. So that walk-up appeal is just very fluid as well as very simple. And then automated reporting. So look, facility manager Mike, he wants to get an event report because there were some alarms that came in. So facility manager runs that report, sends it to him via email. But Mike comes back and says, hey, this is good information. I want to get this on a reoccurring theme, a reoccurring basis, if you will. And rather than being a pain and having to call, Fred every day, Mike says, hey, can you just email it to me whenever I need it? And he says, yeah. So Fred's going to make his life easier. He's going to go into the report tool for AX, or Access Expert, sorry, create the report, schedule it, so then that report will automatically run on a predefined schedule and automatically email itself to Mike. And Mike doesn't know that it was automated in the background. He just gets the information that he needs, but Fred, sorry, in this case, isn't having to manually do it every day. And then we wanted to highlight a couple of use case scenarios. And these, by the way, this comes from actual meetings with actual end users that are in the commercial office space. So we sat down with about 15 or 16 different end users and said, okay, what's important to you? And then Here's how we address it. And though the list that we got was greater than the 5 you see here, we kind of shrunk this down just for the sake of conversation here and the purpose of a slide. But they all like this enablement of mobility, right? For AX, you've got the Windows client machine or workstation, sorry, application. You got the web as well as the mobile app. Each one of those tools empower you to be on the move, but still connected to the system and managing alarms, events, people, access rights, and things like that. Mobile credentials, Bluetooth credentials are picking up a lot more these days. We have a direct integration with the HID Origo platform, so you can automatically provision those to the tenants, which again, nice, easy workflow there. The mobile badging, you see this sometimes where they're actually capturing photos for contractors, maybe not all the actual tenants themselves. But again, I highlighted in the mobile app slide, right, is you can just use the camera on your phone to be your mobile camera to capture the photos. Partitioning in the system is really cool because you can have the base building that has the parking garage, front door, back door, and elevators, but the tenants can actually ride on the infrastructure and have their own partitioned out for their own private front door and back doors. We've actually seen some instances here where the property managers are using this as a revenue generator. So they're actually back charging or charging back a fee to the tenants to ride on the base building backbone. And hence that's that revenue generation point there. All right, so that is it for the slides. We had promised Paige that we wouldn't just go too far into the PowerPoint domain, if you will. All right, so I'm logged into the Windows application. This is the most feature rich, has the most functionality into it. As you look at the web client, there's a little bit less. It had a very specific use case. And again, the mobile app a little bit less. Again, very specific use case for that. A couple of things that we want to make sure that we highlight here. The way that we license the Windows client is we don't. You as the end user, the integrator, you need that customer to have 15 workstations to connect in. That's great. From day one, you got 15. You need them to have 50. That's perfectly fine too. You don't ever have to come back and buy an additional operator license. That is, again, from day one with the product. The other thing that we like to highlight here is the ease of use. And stealing a term from other conversations is the feng shui of the system, if you will. How you navigate through the system is very simple, and it is quite literally as easy as a right click. So like here, I've got an access granted event for Stephen Turney. I can right click the event, and I need to go look at Stephen's profile. Okay, so I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna open up Stephen's profile. Boom, here's my information, my photo, my access levels, and all that kind of stuff. And I can modify this at any time. I can see all the card assignments for myself, current cards as well as old cards have been decommissioned, so we do keep a track of that. Also a single place to manage my login experience as an operator. Oops, as well as my elevator destination dispatch stuff, which Kyle spoke about earlier. And then if I happen to be a visitor, I'm not an employee, I have the ability here to restrict, right? I don't necessarily worry about the visitor information beyond the fact of first name, last name, and company, but I can create my own private watch list now. I can sit here and say restricted visitor, and going forward, anybody that tried to add me to a meeting would get a warning message saying unable to participate in meetings. But because of sensitivity and information, we never disclose the why. It's just that you cannot add me to a meeting. The cool thing here is I got to all of this from a simple right click, right? And then to kind of expand upon that a little bit more, I'll go back to the first tab. Let's say that I can't remember anything about the notification group access level. Right here, right click it, open it up, takes me to that group. I can see the people associated with it, any doors, readers, or elevators that are associated with it. I picked a bad example because this one has none, so I'm gonna go grab a different one. Let's go open that one. And again, I can see the people associated with that access level, schedules, as well as the doors associated with it. Again, the feng shui, very simple to get to stuff, right? And to kind of, again, drive that home a little more, I'm an admin, so I can see hardware, so I'm gonna right click this particular Continuum module, open it up. And now I see the configurations and the settings for that door as well, and can change those things. But again, all through a simple right click, never touched a drop-down menu or a sub-menu whatsoever to get to this point. Let's go backwards. We just hit cancel. It'll back us out to where we started from. So we're right back to that familiar screen. So let's say I got Jason here. Got an Access Tonight event. I'm going to right click that. I'm going to go look at Jason's information. Or, you know what? Maybe I just go in there and reactivate all of his cards because for some reason his cards have been deactivated. So again, rather than having to go drive through a series of menus and search for Jason, I can just do it simply right here from the event. Again, that feng shui is just so simple and so natively simple to do. And then the last thing we like to highlight on this one is, again, go back to this. Let's do this one. Right click. This is the door in question. You get a phone call that says, hey, you know, I need to check out the Raspberry Pi reader. What's been going on with it? Give me the history for it. Maybe we got a service call that we need to make a call to the integrator for. So right click it, pull up the event history, and I've got this thing set for 20 days. So I'm going to pull 20 days worth of data for that door. And so I see all the information, access granted, denied, as well as any error type messages that might have existed with the door. Looking through here, I see, look, does it look like a service issue because there's no communication issues or reader disconnected type issue or message? It's all access granted, denied. So I've got an issue with Jason's card or invalid cards showing up trying to get used at the door. Again, just a simple right click operation got us to all of this. We do have floor plan support in here as well. Again, this is a nice, pretty 3D one that we brought over from our EBO platform. You can also just do simple two-dimensional topographical views. Same functionality though. You know what? If I need to go over here to this reader, right click it, I'm going to unlock that door. Boom, done remotely. Same thing I can do from the mobile app. I can do it from the web client as well. I do see that this door is offline because it's gray. That's what the gray means. Yellow means it's in a controlled state. Again, we just unlocked that one. And then the red means that it already been an alarm or an event that would need to be investigated. Again, if you also want to, I can turn on and turn off the alarms, and I can also pull up an active window alarm. Again, just in a left-hand view here to see what's going on with all the doors, specifically on this particular page. And I can also go ahead and turn that off. See, this door here is in lockdown, so I can go in here now and reset it. I'm going to put it back to normal mode, and then, it's actually scheduled to be overridden to be locked down, so that's why it just reverted right back. Sorry about that, bad example again. But I can, again, just simple right click from the floor plan. I can also come over here to the hardware tree on the right. Let's just pull up our doors. I can right click, that same functionality exists here as well. On the floor plan, you also see I've got intercoms. My intercom is online and active. If someone happens to place a phone call, it'll show the ringer symbol and it'll note that there's a call being made. We can tie that to camera so that we can pull it up on a camera view to see what's going on and who's made the call as well. And I picked a floor plan, sorry, that didn't have the Bosch icon on it for the arm and disarm. But what we'll do just real quick is show you my Bosch panels. Right click, I can arm and disarm those as well. And then the other piece of that integration with Bosch is it allows you to control the arming and disarming codes for each individual person as well. If I go back to the hardware tree real quick here, I'm going to filter it. So this is our demo system. We have a lot of controllers that we ship around the country. So you see a lot of these that are red, they're offline right now. So I'm going to filter. I want everything except for those that are offline. So I'm going to make it look less red, more green. Green's good. And pull up a controller here, right click it. Again, if I want to see what's going on with the controller, the history of it, again, just a simple right click. If you notice the one thing we're not doing, which we have a report suite, by the way, right here. But the one thing we're not doing is we're not actually running a report. We're just doing this from simple right click functionality to get to the information. And here you can see where we've tied it to the cameras. I am working from home today, so my cameras aren't going to pop up and work. Sorry, because they're actually at the office. But I can also navigate to my floor plans from right here as well. So I can go see that event or see that alarm wherever it might have been. Lockdown up here, predefined buttons to lock down an entire campus or an entire system or even a single building if you wanted to. A simple resetting of those exact same doors as well. And then highlighting again this ease of use conversation that we stress or like to stress is we have the notion or concept of favorites. So favorites are unique to me as an operator. So when Kyle, Jack, or anybody logs in, they have their own favorites. They designate them as they go through and set up devices. And I'll show you that here in just a second. But this is your quick pick list, if you will. If I know every day I need to go pull the history for Texas 151 door, right? Just go to the favorites, do the right click, go straight to the door. It'll pull me the last 20 days of data for that door if it's got any activity. Likewise, I know Philip's always needing to have his cards deactivated or turned back on, or he forgets to scan out from an anti-passbacks perspective, and he's a repeat offender, right? I guess come over here, right click, go to the Philips and reset his anti-passback. And so take care of that again. I never have to go through that drop-down menu, the people list that you see there, searching for Philip. I can just do it quickly from my favorites list. And favorites do follow you. So not only the Windows client, but follow you into the mobile app as well as the web client. So that same list would show up for all three spaces for me. And to show you how easy it is to add a favorite, I'm going to grab this one. I will grab the Raspberry door, right click it, add to favorites. That's it. I'm logged in as myself, right? So it just created that linkage for me as a person. And there is the Raspberry door, which is now a part of my favorites. And real simple to remove it, not needed anymore, just remove from favorites. And that's it. So whether again, I'm on the PC, the mobile, or the web client, it just added and or removed it from all three at the same time.
Yeah, so in the PowerPoint, we really didn't touch on the mass notification. Can you give an example of what the mass notification looks like, please?
Yeah, sure. So let's go pick on Jason again. Right click, Jason's got an access tonight. I need to figure out, Jason, if you keep going to this door, why do you keep going there? So if I don't want to pick up the phone and call him or send him an email or call his supervisor, I can say, hey, you know what? I'm going to send Jason a message. It'll pop up a screen here that says, hey, person, I'm going to send them an email and a text. Jason, done. But for right now, I'm just going to do the text. I'm going to do a custom message that says, do you need access to the Pi door? Send. Done. I don't have to remember his phone number. I'm not going to remember anything other than his name. The system goes through, finds his phone number and or email address, by the way, and sends Jason, that message.
Can you give an example if you wanted to do it to the entire card population?
Yeah, sure. So you come up here to the top, the megaphone, send notification. And I won't do this all the way through because it does in fact do exactly what it says. I'm going to send a message to every card holder in my entire database, email and or text. And I can have a template that says, you know what, predefined, I want this forced door alarm message to go out, or custom. And it can be garage is flooded, park on, if I could spell, sorry, on the street. Send. AX will scrub through the database, anybody who's in the system, pull in their phone number, send them that message right there. And then we can also whittle that down to say, you know what? I only want people with access level of after hours. You don't have to worry about it as the customer operator type person to go find those folks. AX will do it for you. And we can tie it to alarms too, by the way. So when there's an access denied event, automatically have it kick out that message. So it's not a manual process if you don't want it.
Can you go through some of the reporting
Sure.
while you're there, please? Thank you.
So yeah, right here, we can do filtering. So you know what, I want everything to be filtered on message. So I'm going to group everything together for the last 20 days for this system based upon messages. Expand those out to see individuals if I wanted to. Drag that back down into here. So now it's back to the way it was. Much like Excel, where you get these filtering windows, I can do that here as well. So I can just really quickly say, you know what, I want to focus it just to access denieds for the left ISC door from the trade show. And do that. And you know you've got a filter applied by the bottom down here. It's got this editor. And then, by the way, if this is important or applicable what you wanted, just come up to the top left and hit the print button. So again, we've not actually run a report. We just did a filter of data to get to the information that we wanted. And I'm going to go ahead and put this back to all so I don't forget. And then to Kyle's question too, there is actual reports. So reports, here's the reports that we have that are pre-configured, canned in the system, if you will. I think it's 27 in total. If you see the checkbox next to it, that means you can apply a schedule to automate it, which we talked about in one of those workflow conversations. So we'll build one out right here. Let's do this. We're going to say KWI event. Report. I'm going to make this specific to that door. I want it to be access granted and access denied. I don't care about any kind of filtering for time frame, just for the sake of this conversation. I'm going to leave the people blank. That way it pulls everybody. And then I can come over here and set this to the schedule. Since I'm the one creating the report, it's going to assume that I want to receive the report, but you can take my name off and you can sit there and put anybody else in the database on it. They've got to have an email address in the system. I can say I want this to come out weekly, every Monday, and let's go for Friday. And then I can save and close. So now every Monday and Friday, that report's going to run. Automatically going to get emailed to Kyle since he's the one that asked for it. Multiple people could be done at the same time, by the way. It's not limited to one person. And then later on down the road, let's just say, hey, we need to modify that. It's now pertinent to Jack. Jack, I don't know if I got you in here, so we're going to find out real quick. We'll just say Philip. And I can now save and close. So now the report gets sent out to Jack as well as to Kyle on an automated schedule. Me as the person who created, I don't have to worry about it anymore. And then the last piece of that one is if you need to pause it. Okay, so go back to that report. Okay, I am going to enable it. And, well, it's already enabled, sorry. I'm going to disable it. So I keep the configurations of the report in the system, but I can enable them and disable them. So right now this is enabled. I go back in here and turn it back off. So now that report wouldn't actually run, but it's still configured, ready to be turned back on whenever.
You have other tabs there next to the access control. Can you just kind of hover over them and go through some of the functionality? Because it's a real robust system with a lot of functionality. Just kind of hover over them and pick some that you want to hit on.
Yeah, so one of the ones that's popular is the floor status comes into play for commercial office buildings. So you can see the status of the floors. You've got someone, hey, I'm a visitor. I need to buzz up to the 11th floor, right? So front desk hits the pulse button, buzzes them into the elevator so that they can go to the 11th floor. And the access configuration tab, this is where you start dealing with your access levels, your schedules, and things like that, holidays as well. We do group holidays. There's no limit to the number that you can have in the system. However, we do give you the ability to group holidays together. So if you need to apply all of the US holidays to a person, you don't have to do them one at a time if you don't want. You can just group them and apply them that way. We get into general configuration stuff. This is standard messages in the system. I think there's a total of 1,000 or 900 in here that are the defaults. Those are those events that access granted, access denied type information. But at the same time, I can come in here and I can create my own custom ones as well at any time, and they become a default or available as a default. When we were sending out the text messages, and there was that one screen that said template or custom. So if we picked template, that's where it would pull it from right here. And while we're on this page, as an operator, loading up the application couldn't be easier. So we created a message that gets sent automatically to that new operator when they're added to the system. This link actually takes them to download Access Expert, tells them how to get logged in. And then because of cybersecurity concerns, we send the password, one-time use password, in a separate communication that goes out later. This is the HID Origo integration. This is our SAML SSO single sign-on integration. Provision of hardware, whether it be our Bosch panels, Mercury controllers. Again, full extensive list of controllers, including the ISONAS IP readers. Configuring the exchanges. These are the intercoms for Zenitel. I think I've got 4. Yep, 4 here on our system here. Video management. So we have, to Kyle's point, I think it was 13 total drivers that are supported in the system. So you can download the drivers here. Some of the drivers we created, some of them were created by the actual manufacturer, so you download it from their site. But we can create camera views. And again, this can be as simple as a 2x2 all the way up to a 3x3. You can actually pull cameras from different video manufacturers at the same time. So we can run a Milestone, a Hanwha, and a Salient, all 3 at the same time, but stitch them into a view and tie that view, by the way, to a door. So when that door has an alarm or a situation, we can tie it for your 15 seconds pre and post. And then the last tab is the built-in visitor management. So I'm going to go ahead and clear some of this stuff out real quick just to make room. So this has 2 components to it. There's the Windows client version that you see right here. You can create meetings and create invitations that go out. There's the web check-in portal. That was that kiosk mode that we kind of talked about earlier. But from here, receptionists can see all the meetings that are going to go on in the office, you know, from probably gonna have to go a little ways back. So I can see here's all the meetings going to go on at my site or different sites, because I do have locations and building specific information. I can see who's checked in, who's checked out. If it's a confirmed meeting, I can also come in here and say, you know what, Alan, I need to get to his information and got it confirmed. That is his valid email address. So I can actually do a little bit of an upcheck, and I can also enable the camera. Teams won't let me do it here because I'm using mine right now, right? But and use that here to capture a photo if need be. So yeah, a lot of functionality to Kyle's point across the board.
All right, so first question is, how long has Schneider Electric been in the security market, and how long has the Access Expert offer been available?
So time in market as a company, 30-ish years in the security space. That goes back to the Andover, Continuum, and the TAC INET days and product lines. Access Expert in the market has been since 2015. And then Access Expert focused solely on a cloud topology has been since 2019. 2016, 2015, we still had the cloud, but 2019, we made it cloud only.
Gotcha. So it's celebrating its 10-year anniversary then.
Yep. Yeah, we're not noobs.
Okay, so the next question is, what are the benefits of a hosted access control system like Access Expert versus an on-prem system? You know, you talked about it a little bit earlier when you were talking about Access Expert being a smart choice, but what are some of those benefits?
Really, the biggest one is one that I hit on with not having to maintain all of that hardware and software. You know, typically you depreciate that hardware over a 5-year period. You have to replace it. You have to reload all of that software. Here we've had end users, customers for the past 10 years that haven't had to do any of that. So there is a big return on investment when you talk about the hardware, the software, the IT resources. That's probably one of the biggest benefits of being in the cloud versus being premise. The other is data redundancy. So Stephen didn't hit on it on a slide, but ultimately it's backed up in 3 Amazon Web Services data centers. So I've had in my career customers with a premise-based system that the actual server went down, and it was very difficult to recover that data from the SQL database once that system was down. Here you have redundancy in 3 separate data centers to where if there's issues connecting to one, it automatically connects to the other, and it's no loss of data. And for those customers over the past 10 years, no loss of data for those 10 years. And then 2, as you can see from the simplicity that, or 3, the simplicity that Stephen just went over, he's hopping around and that application is connected to Amazon Web Services, and there's really not a latency to it. You're not going to have the latency within the software. All of that information is updated within 1 or 2 seconds. It's seamless. So those are probably the top 3 that make a hosted solution better than a premise-based solution. But there's more that I can go into.
So is there a comprehensive list of available integration partners, VMSs, biometrics, etc.?
Yeah, we do. This is a relatively comprehensive list, but Tyler, we can definitely follow up with a full list of the integrations, definitely.
So how easy is it to transition to Access Expert for those who do not currently have it, or they're trying to transition from their current systems?
Yeah, so it's a twofold conversation, if you will. If it's a Mercury-based platform, we make it very simple. You flash the panels, they come into AX, including all the downstream type devices. We do have various tools through our system architects and support teams where we can take that database and convert it and auto-populate it, so therefore your time to fat finger stuff back in is mitigated or removed. All right, but so yeah, it's very simple. It's one of the things that as a company we've done our best to make it as simple as possible to enable that to happen. And I mean, I don't have an exact total count, but just this year alone that I'm aware of, we've got 13, 14 that we've done where we've cut them over from a competitive system. Now, if it's a premise or a proprietary system where it's a proprietary hardware set, obviously a little bit more difficult and challenging there. But that's where we would just ask you to, hey, pick up the phone, make a call. We'll help you walk through that process.
So then that kind of ties into this next question is, does Access Expert require proprietary hardware to function like some other cloud solutions do?
Nope, none whatsoever. Whether it be Mercury-based hardware, the Isonos hardware, or the safer hardware that we support, none of it's proprietary locked to Schneider.
For countries and regions with strict data residency requirements, such as China or the EU, can cross-border global systems be supported?
It's a qualified yes statement. We do have the ability to operate outside of the US and Canadian data center realms for Amazon. Services are spun up. Let's just pick on like EU since it was in the question there. It also comes back to the customer's robustness and what they're trying to do. If they're trying to harmonize into a single database back into the US, we need to work closely with the integrator and the customer to let them know the risks, concerns, and challenges of doing something like that.
Yeah, but to add on to that, we are in communications with 2 end users currently looking at that scenario where it's cross borders due to GDPR or any other requirement from those specific countries. So those conversations are taking place.
Do you have tiers for small versus large or enterprise customers for Access Expert, like pricing tiers or number of product tiers, all that kind of stuff?
Scale size. So we have 3 tiers. There's what we call Access Expert Basic, Access Expert Premium, Access Expert Enterprise. Any one of those can scale to the same quantity or number of doors. We don't limit you that way whatsoever. We came up with the concept of Basic, Premium, Enterprise because some customers like Basic, they don't care about badging. They don't want it. So why charge them for that functionality, that license? Enterprise is used for that customer who's got, let's just say, 15 buildings spread across the country, but they want them to operate standalone. But the administrators, the IT department, the facility security staff wants to have that centralized view for everything. So we came up with that concept there. And then you got Premium, which is in the middle, obviously. Same functionality of basic, it's just we add in the badging functionality, photo ID badging parts of it as well is in there. Beyond that though, any one of them can do one door or 60,000 doors. It doesn't matter.
Well, actually, so we do have time for one more question because there was one more in the chat. We gotta touch on it.
You gotta.
What are some examples of or use cases for the BACnet integration?
Yep, backnet integration. So
Backnet.
Mercury has support for backnet commands. It's really limited to input and output points. It has nothing to do with a reader door or people objects and things like that. Through our integration with EBO, through what we call our smart connector, we actually mitigate that limitation because there are limitations around backnet. And we give a more native control of security through that smart connector connection. So if you've got KC an application where you're looking at backnet, hey, let us know because we really want to talk through it, because what Mercury's done, though viable, there are inherent limitations as to what it is able to do and to support.
All right, so thank you guys so much. That kind of is wrapping up then our webinar for today. So, Kyle, Stephen, Jack, thank you guys so much for being on today and sharing everything regarding Access Expert and all this invaluable information. It's super helpful for, organizations making decisions on what they want to do regarding their security. And for those of you that are on with us today, thank you so much. We hope that you found this session informative and helpful for your decision making. Again, thank you so much for joining the webinar today, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and week.